Hello, we're back with more in Cape Sociology. We will be continuing our journey today looking at family. I am Georgia Crawford Williams and I'll be your facilitator this morning. So, first and foremost, you must remember the definition of family. I made it clear to you that you must know the definition verbatim. You should be able to get into your essay when it is that you're doing your exams and you can write down the definition of family. Now, there are more than one definitions for family. However, the definition that I gave you was one from George Peter Murdoch. It's the most popular definition. And when it is that you look at it, you'll see that he defines the nuclear family and not necessarily the family in general. So having another definition is always good, but no Murdoch definition. When you're going to exam and you write it down, it makes you look bright. Yeah, I say it all the time. When you get into an exam, I don't care whether you're bright or not, but you must be able to convince me that you're bright, that you have knowledge. And one such way is to know your definitions. Now, the definition of family given by George Peter Murdoch says that the family is a social group characterized by common residence, economic cooperation, and reproduction. It includes adults of both sexes, at least two of whom maintain a socially approved sexual relationship, and one or more children owned or adopted by the sexually cohabiting adult. Know the definition. We would have looked at Murdoch's definition, but we also looked at Murdoch's theory of the family and the fact that he said that the family had how many functions? Come on. Come on. Yes, the fact that he said that the family has 4 functions. And then we looked at Talcott Parsons, who spoke about why the nuclear family best fits modern industrial societies. Yeah, and he told us all the characteristics of the nuclear family that made it ideal. And then he went on to say that the family had 2 core functions. I say to you, once it is that you get to a new class, always try to recall, because we're building on knowledge, we're not replacing. Yeah, so we looked at Parsons and we looked at Murdoch, both of whom, as functionalists, believe that the only good family, the only functional family, the only universal family is the nuclear family. Then we looked at those who disagreed. We looked at persons like Leach, yes, and we looked at R.D. Laing. So it was Edmund Leach and R.D. Laing, and they disagreed. As a matter of fact, they said that there's another type of family that is most ideal. Talk to me. Which type of family is that? Talk to me here. Don't care which family they just talk to me, yeah? Yeah, they said that the extended family was most ideal because the extended family had enough members to offer the love and support. I say it to you all the time, never ever start something new without trying to recall, because we're preparing for exam from now. We're not prepared for exam 2 weeks before or the night before where you sit down and try swat a walk and a lick up and dog in a furniture. And that's how we prepare for exam. Good? So I'm going to be continuing family today, and I'm going to go to the feminist view of family. So I'm going to start with the feminist view, and remember, we told you when it was that we looked at the feminist perspective, that the one thing that all feminists have in common is that they believe that women are being exploited. So let's see what they speak about as it relates to the family. The first feminists that we're going to be looking at are Leonard and Delphi. That's the last name. And you know, in sociology, you're allowed to give the last names only. Leonard and Delphi are radical feminists. Leonard and Delphi are radical feminists. Now, when we talk about radical, you know that they are the extremes. Good? So the extremist feminists, Leonard and Delphi. And they say that the family is an economic unit. The family is an economic unit in which the man is totally in charge. The man is the head of the family, the head of the business that is being used. Them say, listen to me, man. You see, within the family, what the man says goes, and everybody work for the man. So the woman, his wife, performs domestic labor for him. She cooks, she washes, she cleans for him. And whatever it is that he wants, he gets. If the man say him get a new work and him a move, the entire family have to move. If the man fall out with the neighbor, everybody stop talk to the neighbor. If the man no eat pork, pork no cook at the yard. They say that the man is totally in charge of the family as an economic unit. And that is because normally he is the main breadwinner. But Leonard and Delphi say even when the man don't earn all the money in the family, even if it is that he is not the breadwinner, he is still seen as the head of the household and everybody have to serve him. Note the term serve, Yeah, serve, she say. So she said when you go into a household, the man have all his own chair. When I was growing up, my father had his own chair. had his own glass and things like that, you know. My father didn't share, you can't see our film dinner, that sort of thing. And I will admit, even now, I'm an adult and I have my children and my husband. When my husband didn't share, it must look like man food. So I say it. I said the man food must look like man food. And I say to my daughter, oh, your father didn't look so. Your father didn't must look like man food. You understand? Them said that is a part of this socialization where we believe that the man is superior in this patriarchal system. And so for him, food must look like man food. You can't give him a small fish. At this year, this is the program. Now, this is whether him about carrying money or not, you know. Leonard and Delphi says that is the power of the men in the patriarchal society that we live in. And it seeps into the family. If they add that boys are treated better than girls in the family. So when they look within the household, the boys get all the freedom. The boys get very little chores to do. The boys get more food to eat. The boys get more lunch money simply because they are boys. So the boy just left and said, "In my gar road." That mommy must so come. If the girl is leaving, you have to say which part you go. You have to tell where you go, who you go with. When she come back, you're not going to sit down. Them said that's the actual, you know, advantage of being a boy, and the only thing you have is your masculinity. That's the patriarchal. You know, patriarchals mean that it is dominated by male. They say that the society is patriarchal, and so the family is patriarchal as well. Yeah? They say, as you see the girls have lots of domestic work to do. Your mother say you must learn to do things because you're a girl. Just that alone, you know. You must learn. You can't wash no plate. The house not clean. And girl there. But the boys, they don't have as much burden. And that is because we live in a patriarchal society where the women are being exploited. And so the radical feminist says that in general, the family is a bad place for women. In general. The family is not a good place because women are continuously exploited, whether they are earning or not. Good? Now, and that's Leonard and Delphi. Germaine Greer, who is a woman, her name is Germaine, but she is a woman. Germaine Greer is one of the most radical of feminists. Germaine Greer says the family is a den of abuse. And so women must leave. They need to escape families. They should not live in nuclear units at all because men are there simply to exploit them. She said there is physical abuse, there is verbal abuse, there is emotional abuse, and there is sexual abuse, and it is constant. She said if you look within the family, it is not just in any one society. All societies, women are abused. Women are abused when men speak to them in particular ways. We know that. I remember once I was at the supermarket and I was in the line. You know, when you're at a supermarket line, everybody there, you know, I watch everybody because you don't have nothing to do, really. And I don't know what happened with the man and the woman, but to all the man turn and shout at the woman, everybody, when they do anything, start look upon them. Now, that is verbal and emotional abuse. That mean when it was that all the man talk, that me that take a milk tin and clot him. True. Me would have just take the milk and clot him. Overall. She said that is verbal and emotional abuse that women continue to experience. She said when it is that a man will leave his family and he will have another woman outside that everybody know about, that is emotional abuse. The only person who don't know is the wife. That is emotional abuse that women suffer through continuously. Then there is physical abuse. There is physical abuse that it is so constant and so widespread, it is almost accepted. That you hear the noise, and you say, "Wagwan." So what Jana beat him, woman? You say, "Oh," and you continue. That you just go on and like there is nothing happening. When I was growing up, I remember there was a guy that had an altercation with his baby mother, and they had a fight. I don't know if I can call it a fight. But he is beating her up. That's all the dog get mad and start jump on him. And everybody else I try to tell him to stop, and he is so angry that him would have literally kill her. That's the dog. When the dog jump up and bite him in his face. You can imagine how the dog angry that his own dog jump up and bite him in his face because of how he was hitting his lady. And this is a lady that he had children with. And then afterwards, she was with him again. And everybody never really see it as like, oh my God. Yeah? As a matter of fact, after that and them break up and everything and then them come back together, them keep a dance. It named Reunited and it feels so good. Yeah, and me got the dance, for sure. how it is that we saw it almost as commonplace. That we never stand up and say, no man, this nothing will happen. We just hear that, say, yeah man, where I go, where I feel good. They said that is because it has become so commonplace. Yeah? So they say if it is that you look at the family, it is a den of exploitation, sexual abuse. They say sexual abuse is rampant within the family. Of the girls, of cousins, as daughters, as sisters, nobody talk about it. You just hear, don't go over uncle such and such yard. Then they run out uncle such and such, you know. Don't go over uncle such and such yard. And if you go over there and you talk about it, what you do over there? They said that is how it is dealt with. And so the exploitation continues. As a consequence, Germaine Greer said women need to get rid of men and go live in all-female communes. She said that it don't make no sense. You try with them because the man them crosses, get rid of them, live in all-female communes, and when it is that you want men, you send for them for reproduction and send them back to where they belong. That's what Germaine Greer says. And that is why she is one of the most extreme feminists. She's very radical in her views. Now, I know the critics of her cuss and say, woman no one gone away. They say women crave relationships more than men. Good? Now, you must remember the names. You must remember a sociological essay without names is like a history essay without dates. So far, just today, I've given you Leonard and Delphi, who are together. I've also given you Germaine Greer. They're all radical feminists. But I've given you Talcott Parsons, I've given you Murdoch, I've given you Leach, I've given you Lang. Write them down. You can't come to class, so you're not no pen, you're not no paper, you're not write down nothing. Yeah? Write them down. You must remember your names. Now, Anne Oakley is a modern feminist. Anne Oakley says that the modern woman, the liberated woman, is far more exploited than her ancestors. She said if you look at the women who are living in today's society, in the industrial society, they are the ones who are most exploited. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Anne Oakley. Anne Oakley's theory came about because theorists, functionalists, Young and Wilmot, they came up with a theory called the symmetrical family. And Young and Wilmot said in the symmetrical family that the modern family is an equal family. That's why it's symmetrical, yeah? Where males and females do the same amount of work. Him said there was a time when women were treated unfairly. That's what Young and Wilmot say. But now we live in a symmetrical family where the roles are equal. Man do domestic labor, woman do domestic labor, man look after the children, woman look after the children. And so we have evolved to a place where the family ought to be. You see, when Anne Oakley hear about Young and Wilmot theory, oh Lord, she get mad. She said, what? And anyway, Young and Wilmot go talk about the theory, she go follow them and put up her hand. Excuse me, not no go so. Everywhere. Poor Young and Wilmot could never get rid of her. She started stalking. And so she came up with her own theory. She did her own research. She says it is true that men are helping in the household now. But all they're helping with is childcare. And when them say them help with childcare, it means that them just play with the picnic a little bit. And as the picnic start ball, then call the mother. She said if you look at the woman of today, she has really been tricked. Because her ancestors could actually stay at home and look after the family and do all the domestic labor. Now, the women of today have to leave, go work, then come back at their yard and do all the domestic labor. And them call it liberation, but there's no liberation there because it's just more exploitation. You have triple burden. You have triple burden because now you have the economic burden. You have triple burden because you still have the domestic burden. You have triple burden because you also have the emotional burden of keeping the family together. She said, check it. If a party if you keep, a birthday party if you keep, who plan it? The mother. If a family outing if you go vacation, who plan it? The mother. She said, if something happen at school and they want to talk to somebody, who they send for? The mother. Them say, if the father do something, if the father cheat, who plan the counseling? The mother. So they say, if you look at the modern woman, she has been tricked. She said this liberation no work for you. Because all that has happened is that now you have to take on the economic burden, which was once the burden of the men. And so people said things like, oh, you must split the bill. So you go and the two are going to eat and you must pay off and he must pay off. And still, he may expect that you must cook, wash and clean. And so you get actual more work to do than you had before. She says no woman is more exploited than the modern woman. And it is unfortunate that, it is so because the women don't want to say it because of them say they want to go work. They say it is unfortunate now that if you look at the modern woman right now, and she have to plan her day, she will still say to you, so she have to go home, go make sure her children are fine, and the house is clean, and the food is cooked. And if you ask a boy, 17, 18, 16, what him looking for in a wife, him still say she must be able to cook, wash, and clean, plus him want she work. Yeah? So Anne Oakley says, when it is that a man gets married, his life gets better. But when a woman gets married, her life gets worse. Can you take on somebody else now to look after? That is what Anne Oakley says. So she says there's nobody who is more burdened, who is more exploited than the modern woman. And then it is hard to say it because it's going to look now like you asked for liberation and now you are suffering as a consequence. Now, I will admit that Anne Oakley is one of the favorites of mine. I am not a feminist. I need to always say that. I am not a feminist at all. And so my arguments are normally anti-feminist. I believe that feminism has not really helped us as women in general. At least what feminism is now, radical feminism. Yeah? This thing where you must go, man must no longer be protector, provider. That don't sit well with me. It don't help, like mind me. But Anne Oakley is not saying that. And Oakley is not saying that only the men should look after. She's saying if it is that is totally symmetrical, if the woman is contributing economically, then the man must contribute equally as it relates to domestic tasks and childcare. So if the woman a cook, the man must clean. The man must wash. She said in her research, she asked who cleaned the toilet, who cleaned the family bathroom. Never the man. Always the woman. Even some of the men thought it was disrespectful to ask if him clean the toilet that him use. She said that psyche must change. Yeah? And if it does not change, the result is the constant exploitation of women, even with liberation, even if she working. Yeah? Because if you see her child out a door dirty, you ask where the mother there. If they see the man don't look good, his shirt not a button, you say, him not a woman. Oh, you let him out, so. That sort of thing. So they say because of that, there's triple burden. And Oakley is very, very important to sociology because she's a modern feminist. Many persons have argued that the views of the feminists are outdated, that, they still see a society where women are dependent on men, and that does not exist. However, Anne Oakley says that feminism is still very needed and applicable because the modern woman is still being exploited. Good? So there, we were looking at the feminist view of the family. Now, we're moving to the reasons for the emergence of the matrifocal family. I'm going to stick a pin there and talk about matrifocal. You should know the term. Now, a matrifocal family is a female-headed, single-parent family. That is different from matriarchal. And then put it in an exam all the time and trick you know. Because you just say ma and you done this so. Yeah? Matriarchal simply means female-headed, yeah? Female-dominated. A matriarchal family can be an extended family. The grandmother just edit and she in charge. A matriarchal family can be a nuclear family, man and woman, but it's the woman who is in charge. A matriarchal family can be a single-parent family. But when the matriarchal family is single-parent, it is called matrifocal. Know them terms. It a compound multiple choice. Me not ask. It a compound multiple choice exam. And while it is that we're here to get knowledge, we're also preparing for our exams. So write it down. Matriarchal is the opposite of patriarchal, where patriarchals talk about male-dominated, male-headed, yeah? But when the feminists use patriarchal, they talk about the dominance really of males and how males are in charge. Good? So the matrifocal family is a female-headed, single-parent family. The question is, why is it that we have so many matrifocal families in the Caribbean? There was a time when the statistics would show you that matrifocal families made up over 50% of the family units in the Caribbean. Since then, the statistics have changed somewhat. Persons like Herbert Gale has been quarreling about it because what they would ask if, is to the woman if she is the only one living with her child? And her answer would be yes. And they would say, oh, then it's a matrifocal. But the man them start cussing. And I say, no. Yes, them live with she, but then come visit me enough. And me pay my money. So how come she a single parent? She not single. She is a single woman. But she's not a single parent because I am parenting as well. And because the men started quarreling about it and, you know, Herbert Gale started asking some questions, we find that the statistics has changed because them start ask the question differently. Yeah? But matrifocal family really speaks to a female-headed single-parent family where the woman is the one left with the brunt of the childbearing and rearing responsibilities. Good? Now, why is it that we have so much in the Caribbean and we have enough? Whether the statistics want to change a little bit or what, or the definition, we still have enough. Why? Melville Herskovits, know what they name them. Melville Herskovits says it's because of African retention. Melville Herskovits says to us, because we were all, you know, brought over from Africa, many of us brought the culture of the Africans with us as well. And the Africans were known for polygamous relationships. Now, with polygamous relationships, what happened is that the man was allowed to have more than one wife. Yeah? And so that was allowed and it was expected and it was accepted. When they were brought over to the Caribbean as slaves, they were introduced to Christianity and this particular concept of monogamy, where it is that the man is expected to only have one spouse. However, the attitude, the culture, the norm of polygamy still existed in their minds. And so the man still expected that he would be able to have more than one spouse. But since polygamy was no longer legal or allowed, what happened is that he now started to be a part of what is called serial monogamy. What that mean? Serial monogamy means, say, him have one woman, him have a baby with she, and then he move on to a next woman and have a baby with she. Then he move on to a next woman and have a baby with she. So he became a serial monogamist because he retained the cultural belief that a man should have more than one spouse. Yeah? So while him can't have them all live in a one big house again, him still believe that him should be able to add on as he goes along. It is African retention. You retain the cultural norms of polygamy. But it's not only the man alone retain it. The woman retain the same cultural belief as well. Because a woman will know a man with 3 baby mother and she become the 4th baby mother. That means that she too believe that it is okay for the man to have, you know, more than one, to be a serial monogamist. Yeah? Him have 5 and you become 6 because you know so you got to change him. Change what? The majority are the same thing and they not change nobody. Yeah? But it is because you don't see it as something wrong. When it is that I would say, and I'm quite a controversial person when it is that I have these discussions, I will say to somebody that if a man have 2 baby mother, me can't be the 3rd. And I say, I'm not hotter girl than nobody else. Yeah? I have a whole heap of other things that are going for me, but I'm not hotter than the majority. Yeah? Me average for the most part, but when I come out a different thing. When I come out, if you judge me out at 20, me at 25, yeah? But most time I average, and still, if a man have 2 baby mother, me now become the 3rd. And when I said that, there are many people like, but that don't make no sense. You don't know what happened in the man's life. You're supposed to have the 2 wrong baby mother first, and then you are the right one. Me say, what's all right about me? Whenever I write with them. But because we still have the attitude of polygamy, we are still retain the belief that it's not too bad if you have 3 baby mother. 4 or 5, man a gallis. Man must have gal and gal in a bungle. Gal from Rima, gal from jungle. That is the sort of belief. Yeah? And that is coming, according to Herskovits, from African retention. And that is why we end up with matrifocal families, because he moves from one woman to the other and leaves the woman to look after the child. Because he still believes it is okay. He has retained the attitude of polygamy. And you too, as the woman, you have retained it as well. Good? M.G. Smith says that is not so. M.G. Smith says if you really look at the meds, the reality is that slavery and the plantation society is what has really led to the actual matrifocal family. Him say from slavery, we find that the planters start mash up the family. Once it is that you see a man settle down with a woman and start build a family, the planter come and sell off the woman or sell off the man, because they know that once you become a family, you become united, and unity is strength. So from early, them start sell off the man and leave the woman to grow the children and look after them. And so that became a norm for us. That became something that is a part of our culture because of what happened during slavery. They say, remember as well, that during slavery, you used to have some breeders. That's what they would call them. Tall, strong men, come from good stock. And they would just send them from plantation to impregnate women so that they could have good slaves. Just like how you breed animals, they used to do that so that you could have more slaves. Now, when that man leaves from one plantation to the next, he has no responsibility for the child. And so the woman was left with the brunt of child rearing activities. And so it became a cultural norm. And so we start move down. Now, it is important to note that we are doing much better than we were before. I always make that point. There was a time when RGD would tell you that almost 70% of birth papers don't have no father sign it. We have seen where that is changing now, where more and more fathers are signing on the birth paper, they're present at birth and things of the sort. But still, according to M.G. Smith, the culture that we developed from slavery allowed the man to believe that child rearing is not his responsibility. So he move on. Yeah? Oscar Lewis gives an alternate explanation. Oscar Lewis says it's because of the culture of poverty. Oscar Lewis said, listen, poverty in and of itself is not conducive to a nuclear family, especially when it is that the man is poor. Because when the man is poor and he can't look after his family financially, then the woman gets very upset. And so when she gets very upset, she starts cuss the man in reality. And so the man, he gets so, ashamed of the fact that he can't play the role, that him actually tries to just run away because him can't sit down under the pressure every day. Because from him come in, and she said, well, you come in with nothing again. I them what list, and I can't bother with the what list. I better you go out, Don't come in again now, nothing forgive me. So they say automatically the man is so ashamed because the woman is continuously on him because he can't look after the family. Then he sees it as best to just escape it by running away. Unfortunately, when he runs away, he usually runs away to a next woman and start the cycle all over. Oscar Lewis' theory and this explanation of the matrifocal family is the one that is most criticized. They said that, listen, Oscar Lewis, you are just making an excuse for men. But in reality, if it is that he was a man in the first place, he would have found a way to help out and look after his family. That's what the people say. But Oscar Lewis said, you can't say that all you want, but I tell you what happened. Yeah, this is what I have proven from my research. Now, Nancy Gonzalez, wow. Nancy Gonzalez is quite a controversial theorist. Nancy Gonzalez actually did her study in Jamaica. And she said when it is that people talk about matrifocal family, they talk about matrifocal family as if it's a nuclear family gone bad. As if, people wanted nuclear, but they end up with matrifocal single-parent family. She said, no. She said there are many women who choose to live in a matrifocal family because it makes financial sense. She said, if you're a poor woman, you have to think about what makes sense for you and you're picking the debt. If you're a poor woman and you decide to be with one poor man, then him can only give $5 a week. Now, $5 a week can feed you, but it can't clothe you, it can't shelter you. But if you decide to stay by yourself as a poor woman, then you can have 3 poor men. And each of the men will actually contribute to your well-being. So instead of only getting $5 a week, you end up with 15. Yeah? And so living in a matrifocal family makes financial sense. Instead of now having one baby father, and give just what him have, you have 3 baby father, and if you can't get Monday, Tony, that can't give this week, don't worry, there is Tom. Yeah? And we can link John. Yeah? If I was tied down in a nuclear family, we can't have no extra man for help out. Nancy Gonzalez says the reality for many poor women is that one man is not enough financially. And so she chooses to live in a matrifocal family where she and her pick them alone so she can have more than one source of income as it relates to men. Now, many people curse when Nancy Gonzalez said it. But if you look around, many of us know women who have never worked a day in their life. And then just have some man, we help them out. We look after them, we contribute. When I was growing up, them say women would have what you call a press button. A pressers, I don't want to call them now. But they used to say that you would have a boyfriend who is your legitimate boyfriend, and then you have a boyfriend who will do anything for you. So if it is that you're down mobile and you broke down, your car broke down, you call your boyfriend, him say, boy, then what you going to do? Yeah? You call your pressers, the pressers say, I am on my way. Now, Nancy Gonzalez says that is something that is passed down from generation to generation, where women understand that if it is that you are poor and you are going to make it, you have to have more than one spouse. Now, Nancy is not suggesting it, and this is why people get so upset, because they believe that Nancy is suggesting that this is the way. She's saying, no, my research has proven that this is what many women do. They choose to live in a matrifocal family because it makes financial sense, because they can actually have more than one spouse, and each spouse will contribute to the well-being of themselves and them family. And so people live that way because for them it is a proper adaptation to their reality. Good? Now, one major criticism of Nancy Gonzalez is that she's saying that women are prostitutes. And Nancy Gonzalez responded to that. She said that, listen to me, this thing about prostitution, and that's because Nancy Gonzalez is a half feminist. She said this thing about prostitution all the time is bandied around as if we women are different. She said, no, there is nothing really as it relates to prostitution. A woman expects that a man will look after her. Simple. Now, if it is that one man can look after you, then wonderful, you have one customer. But if it is that you need 2 or 3 men because them support you, have to have 3 customers. So if you're in a nuclear family, you just have 1 customer. If you're in a matrifocal, you end up with 3. So she says, if we dissect prostitution, you will see that we are unfairly being judgmental, because women believe, it's a part of our culture, that men should look after them. Your parents tell you, your friend tell you, say you're Ali Button. So the boy not again, not even a credit. No, you're 17, you know? You're 18. You're 18 too. And you're still it's not even a credit. Yeah? If it is that you have to contribute to him, then it's a problem. So you're a mind man though. And that you for? Yeah? That is a problem. So she said, if you look at the culture contributes to all of these beliefs. Good? Now, these are key, and I'm not even going to go because I was going to speak about the extended family. But because I want to ensure that you remember all the names, yeah? You must know the names that we have looked at. So today, we were looking at family. We started by looking at the feminist view of family. We looked at the radical feminists in particular. We looked at Leonardo and Delphi, who said that the family is an economic unit in which the men are in charge. Know them name. We looked at Germaine Greer. Germaine Greer, who said to us that the family is a den of exploitation in which women are sexually, physically, every kind of highly abused, and so they should get rid of men and live in all-female communes. Then we looked at Anne Oakley, who is the modern feminist, who responded to Young and Wilmot's symmetrical family and said that no, if you look at today's society, the women are burdened more than before. Then finally, we look at the reasons for the matrifocal family. We looked at Melville Herskovitz, African Retention, M.G. Smith, Plantation Society, Oscar Lewis, Poverty, and Nancy Gonzalez, who says it's because it makes financial sense. Know your names. Know the main thing what them says. If you know the main thing, you can now build on it. Yeah?